It wasn't this weekend. It was actually kind of midweek last week, but it's a big deal. Congrats to Cavan Sullivan, who made his MLS debut last Wednesday, subbing on in the 85th minute as Philly beat the New England Revolution 5-1. Sullivan, who has an agreement in place to join Manchester City, or maybe we should better say City Football Group, in the coming years, was 14 years and 293 days old at the time of his debut, breaking Freddy Adu's long-standing record as the youngest player in MLS history. Herc, what do you think about it? This feels like an "Are you cool with it?" If we had those.
It's a reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations to Cavan Sullivan, who got his debut. It's a proud moment in any footballer's career. I couldn't imagine being 14 years old and having that happen to you, and what a whirlwind that must be like for you mentally after getting signed by Citigroup and the potential of playing in one of their teams when you are old enough. It's got to be a whirlwind type of life for him right now. It's really night and day from his counterparts at that age, whether it's in the footballing world or just in school. But he was 13 days away from, he actually beat it by 13 days.
Right.
Freddy Adu's record.
2 weeks away from not breaking the record.
2 weeks away from not breaking the record. And why is that relevant? Because Leagues Cup would have happened and he wouldn't have gotten that opportunity. And here's a player that's played 10 games for Philly 2, 1 90-minute game in those 10 games, but is coming off back-to-back goals in his league play for Philly 2. So you could read into that what you want. But all of a sudden...
I mean, these are not the numbers that suggest ready for the next jump. He started half of his 10 games. He's got, 2 goals, 2 assists. I mean, the last goal he scored was against a 30-year-old goalie for Chattanooga who's never played anywhere other than NISA, which is basically semi-pro. So, I mean, you gotta take the MLS Next Pro
I want to be very
with a heavy grain of salt, man.
I want to be very careful when I say this.
I think the point we're trying to make here is you earn debuts. There doesn't seem to be a lot on, and I know Jim Curtin has defended it with what you see in training, but knowing the desperation for publicity of the Philadelphia Union and the league.
And that's where I want to get to.
I'm sorry.
I want to be very careful how I say this because you earn, as a player, everything you get. I'm a firm believer in that. And congratulations to him and what he's earned. But this wouldn't have happened after Leagues Cup. And the Today Show, Sports Center, CNN, the New York Times, all things that were lined up immediately post-debut wouldn't have come about if it wasn't for this record. So it leads you to believe there was a massive publicity push to get him on the field. This is a league right now that's behind a paywall, and this is a reality of all leagues today. But it's behind a paywall, So to get them this type of exposure was crucial for them as a league, a team. I just hope this player doesn't get sucked into that world. And I'll bring up Freddy Adu, who you knew very well because you were in that DC United world. He got mixed up in that. And this is by all means a very talented player, but you need to be very careful how you handle these things in a player like Sullivan. So,
you know what a big
massive, pause button here.
You know what a big difference between Freddy Adu and the Sullivan situation here? The respective teams. You know what DC United did when Freddy Adu came into the league? They won the title. So you could at least make the argument that the team itself was ready to accept this player into it and wasn't going to suffer for it. I know they've won 2 games in a row. Does anybody care about what the Philadelphia Union are doing in the standings? They're below the playoff line after winning 2 games in a row. Do you know how bad you have to be in MLS to be below the playoff line in July after winning back-to-back games? They've won 6 of 25 games this season. That is terrible. And while all of this Cavan Sullivan stuff is going on, you know what's happening in Subaru Park? They're chanting, "Sugarman out." Jay Sugarman is the owner. They want the owner out. That's what's happening around the Philadelphia Union.
They just sold their best player.
That doesn't seem to me like a team that is, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's a team that so desperately needs this 14-year-old to compete. And that's the other thing here is, are we to believe, I don't look it up, so I'm sure the internet will correct me. The Bundesliga's never had a 14-year-old. La Liga's never had a 14-year-old. Premier League's never had a 14-year-old. Serie A's never had a 14-year-old. Are we to believe that MLS is either not MLS, that the United States is so scary good at developing talent that in 25 years we've had 2 14-year-olds that are good enough? Or, and I think this is the scary thing that maybe people in MLS don't want to think about, is it an indictment of the quality of the league? That here you can have kids, like not even post-adolescent kids, and you can throw them onto the field for a little marketing buzz, and it won't hurt anybody. Because they wouldn't dare do it in other parts of the world. They don't do it in the best leagues in the world. This is not done.
Lamine Yamal. These same people bring up the exceptions to the rule. And I'm with you here. And you got to be very... I had a teammate when I was in Mexico who debuted when he was 15.
If we're saying to pump the brakes, and then you're also telling me that people are bringing up Lamine Yamal and Cavan Sullivan, I think that's the opposite of pumping the brakes.
I agree with
you. You can't use Yamal.
I agree with you. I'll end with this. I had a teammate when I was in Mexico who debuted at 15 years old. I'm struggling to remember his last name right now.
There it is. There it is. Was it a publicity stunt, or was he actually good enough to get it?
He's a good player. Very good player. But I'm struggling to remember his last name right now. He's nowhere near where he should have been, and he's not in First Division anymore.
Hopefully the same doesn't happen to Cavan Sullivan, the Philadelphia Union prospect who made his debut at 14 years, 293 days of age. That's about how long ESPN FC has been on the air. 14. I think it's more like 10 or 11. Dan Thomas, Kay Murray, they do a great job on that show. Catch it 7 days a week here on ESPN FC.